Dawn had not yet chosen a colour. The sky above Meereen was the dull side of steel, and the sea beyond the river mouth lay flat as hammered tin. Only the enemy moved. Yunkish fires pricked the dark plain like fox eyes. Farther out, 6 hulking silhouettes stood against the pale. Trebuchets tall as towers, their arms canted like bent elbows at prayer. The besiegers called them the 6 Sisters. Harridan was the greatest, and Harridan did most of the talking. Sir Barristan Selmy stood on the market gate's parapet and listened to the city breathe. The creak of leather where Unsullied tightened straps, the short cough of the horse that wanted oats and got iron, the sibilant rasp of whetstone on spearheads. Below, the widened street had been cleared of stalls, so the horse could burst from the gate without stutter or turn. Somewhere in the dark behind him, a boy, one of his boys, whispered a river prayer he had learned in Meereen, when he found the old prayers had no purchase on this soil. "Lord Commander," said the widower, voice rough as a file, "if we wait for full light, their archers will unlace us." "We will not wait," Barristan said. Dawn favoured men with work to do. "Signals as ordered. Stormcrows ride with me. Jokin holds the left. Grey Worm brings the wall forward in our shadow. If I fall, command passes to the widower, then to Jokin, then to Grey Worm. If all fall, you still know the plan. Harridan first, burn her down. Without those sisters, the Yunkish are only men in tents." He looked to his lads. Tumco low with the horn, Larak the lash with narrow eyes and fast hands, and the Red Lamb, who had decided he would be brave and had not yet learned the price of that decision. He loved them as a commander loves boys who will die properly if he asks it of them. He hated that love a little. A rag of pale smoke peeled down from the Great Pyramid's crown as the signal fire took. The brazen masks of the city watch flickered in that glow like unblinking eyes. The gate drums began their slow heartbeat. Boom, boom, boom. Barristan drew breath, found it steady, and lowered his visor. He rode Daenerys's silver. The mare knew her work. When the market gate opened its iron mouth, she sprang as if a bow had loosed her. Stormcrows uncoiled around him in a dark wave, sickle sabres, feathered helms, tattered standards borrowed from a dozen wars. The air ahead tasted of old ash. Pale mare corpses lay in trampled lanes between city and camp, swollen and staring. Gifts Yunkai had flung all night. Harridan's arm had not tired. "Banner!" Barristan called. Tumco raised the Queen's device. 3 heads, 3 mouths that would one day speak fire with discipline instead of hunger. And the horn sang a hard, clean note that made horses shake their manes. Arrows met them. A hiss at first, then a rain. Barristan felt 3 tap his shield and 1 thrum off the ridge of his helm. Men cried out behind him. A lighter voice went high, then stopped. He did not look back. A charge is a spell. You do not break it to count who is left. They smashed the first screen of Yunkish bowmen. Free men hired dear with slave gold, bright cloaks, bad spines. And the spell stretched until it sang. Barristan's lance took the foremost through the belly. He let the weight do the work and cast the shaft free, drawing sword with the same motion. The silver's forefeet hammered a bowman flat. The rest ran, because sellswords know the smell of a losing place. When they ran, the Stormcrows began to laugh. It was not a pretty sound, but it was honest. "Widower." "Left." Barristan's arm cut the air. "Jokin, through the wagons. Burn lines here and here." He pointed, and he saw the men take those lines into their eyes. That was all a commander could ask. On the city side, the gate drums stopped. In their place came a different rhythm. Unsullied feet, the iron scrape of 1,000 butt spikes biting earth at once. Grey Worm brought them out neat as geometry, 3 ranks deep, shields overlapping, spearheads like a field of wheat before storm. They wore no plumes to show courage. Their courage was the way they did not look left or right. The Yunkish found their nerve, or their overseers found it for them with whips. Light horse swept from between the engine parks, bright silk, lacquered bows, tall manes, and came on in a point that promised to split a shield line. Points like that kill if you meet them badly. Make them spend that charge, Barristan said to the silver, and cut a crescent path along the Unsullied 4. Grey Worm, you shouted, and the eunuch's helm turned a fraction. Box, close the mouth late. The Unsullied moved without hurry, because hurry is where fear lives. The first rank sank to one knee and planted. The second set spearheads through the gaps. The third slanted high for the horses' faces. Drummers rapped a new measure, short, tight, cruel, and the field seemed to narrow. Now, Barristan breathed. The light horse came, their points fine up close, judges' wands. The Unsullied's front admitted them as a throat admits a blade. Then the throat closed. Shields healed, spears crossed and bit. The point of the charge found not a gap but a catch, and catching snapped. Horses screamed, the short human sound, and crashed on iron where iron waited. The men who tumbled laughed no more. Those behind reined too late and rode into the wreck, and then the second rank stepped and thrust with a butcher's thrift. The third rank's high slant found eyes. Advance, Grey Worm called in the sharp Valyrian the Unsullied liked best. And the box became a slow machine. It ground forward, eating men and horses, and the ground behind it made a low coughing sound as it swallowed. Barristan had no leisure to be proud. The company of the cat were cutting in from the flank, good fighters who sold their valour dear, spotted pelts on shoulders and long knives in hand. Jokin checked them with a block of free brothers who fought like men who had thrown off cuffs and wanted the world to notice. Fire leapt along the first tar rope his sappers had threaded through Harridan's braces. A crewman dropped his lever and slapped at his tunic where flame licked. The fire liked him and followed when he ran. Men who might have doused it with a bucket a heartbeat before were drawing breath to shout orders when the flame found the second rope, then the third. Fire is a language even fools understand once it begins to conjugate. A roar rose behind. The gate had belched a different sort of army, pit fighters, bare-chested, striped, oiled, scarred, some bawling the Queen's titles, some spitting the King's, all of them ready to be brave and terrible until they remembered to count. Barristan had no love for their trade, but he could not deny their appetite for dying well. They threw themselves where the fighting was hottest, and where they fell, the ground grew less friendly for those who came next. From the river mouth, horns. Not Yunkish horns, the parading fat kind, but long, wet, hungry calls that made the hairs bristle along Barristan's nape. He knew that voice from another life. Ironborn. It carried the stink of tar and old fish and religions that liked knives. Ships, Larak called, wheeling his mount to keep pace with the silver. He had an archer's eye and a thief's greed for gossip. Black sails, many. Let them quarrel with Yunkai's galleys, Barristan said. We have our quarrel. Harridan's arm came down again like judgment, and a corpse traced a patient arc across the morning. It came apart in the air, and fell as a nuisance rain of meat and worms, and the cloying stink that had made small boys weep in their mothers' skirts all week. The red lamb swallowed, and looked ashamed for doing it. Barristan wished he could spare him both the sight and the shame. He could spare neither. Tumco, he said, signal Grey Worm. Keep his right locked to our left, no gap. If they run us apart, they will eat us in little breakfasts. The horn's call was thin against the roar of flame. Harridan was speaking a new language now, a brighter one. A brace gave way with a dull whoomp. Barristan felt in his boot soles. Men shouted. The priest tore off his mask. He had a soft face under it. He screamed like a furnace. On the far flank, a scorpion crew loosed. 3 bolts hissed past Barristan's shoulder. One thudded into the dirt and quivered until the silver put a hoof on it and stilled it. He thought of old histories. of a red dragon pulled from the sky by planning and massed iron, and of how such lessons starve courage if you let them. You do not let them. "Ride that crew off their gear," he told the widower, pointing. "Do not chase once they run. A frightened man will teach you where the cliff is if you keep him long enough." They ran, and the widower did not keep them. He turned his men with a knee and a grunt, and to watch it was to feel a small, private relief. There are still soldiers in the world. A shadow went over him. High over the camps, a shape described a lazy circle against the washed morning. Not hawk, not eagle, not cloud's accident. This shape owned the sky it crossed. Green, he thought, and then told himself not to think like a man hungry for signs. The sky lies in war. Still, there came a second shape, pale as peeled bone, and the two played at brothers for a breath before the wind changed and he lost them. In the city, brazen beasts beat a new pattern, a quickening, a question. "Sir," said the red lamb, quiet as if the thing might hear. "If the queen returns." "If," Barristan said, "because discipline begins with the words you allow men to use. We will not give her a city already lost." The company of the cat's line wavered and broke, perhaps a captain dead, perhaps a prudent man deciding to live to be paid again. Flames walked up Harridan's backstays like clever thieves. The great arm jerked forward, then listed and hung, sling snared around itself. Men jumped from the frame and tumbled, small and foolish, to earth. "Push," Barristan said. The silver flicked an ear to show she agreed. "Back to the box," Barristan called, wheeling the silver to show the line his people would take. "We have cut their throat. Now hold their head in the water until they stop." The Unsullied were already where they needed to be. The box had widened and squared, formed pockets where the hurt could sit without making the whole machine limp. Grey Worm stood where a commander should, not shouting because his men did not require it. They made a pale wall, dirty with other men's deaths. Their spear points were steady, their shields made a single thought. The Yunkish tried one last proud thing. Their nobles, heavy with gold, light in sense, gathered what cavalry remained and aimed it at the seam, where pit fighters jostled with free brothers and queen's men. Barristan watched the angle and the rise and fall of the horses' heads, and knew where it would land before their captains did. He had seen charges like this grind whole mornings to paste. He put the silver in their path.